So, good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome again to another lesson of FSM 111, which is the methods of cooking food. So, do you have an idea what does it mean? Okay, so later on we will discuss the lesson. So, basic cooking principles is composed of moist heat and dry heat. So, do you have an idea on ning moist heat or dry heat? So from the word itself, moist, which I guess it involves something water, tobacco, and dry, which involve without water. So we'll find it later. So the principles of cooking food. So the cooking of food involves heating it in a variety of way to make it more palatable. Diba? As I discussed in the first video, that food has different methods to cook. Diba? Daghang method siya para lutuon, para mas mulami siya. The heat to cook, the heat to cook the food comes from a variety of sources, including the electrical elements or hot plates, gas flames from the stove or barbecue, the heat from a conventional oven, and heat generated by a microwave oven. So, lahi-lahi ang atong sources sa pagluto. No? Kung naamoy oven, if naamoy stove, if naamoy katong murag dirty kitchen lang bitaw siya na through kuan lang, kanang kahoy, and of course with the use of microwave oven. So, heat is transferred to the food and cooking medium. So, there are different types of cooking medium like fat, water, stock, or milk. So, they are being called as cooking medium. So, by means of convection, conduction, and radiation. So, inyo rin siyang ma-encounter in our next lesson. Okay, so inani day siya. So the radiation is butang natog the flame. The conduction is the direct contact of the flame. Mo ni siya atong gamiton nga mga pot, mga pan. Then convection happens inside the conduction. So methods of cooking food. So different cooking methods, food are suited to different kinds of food. Okay, so lahi-lahi gid ang mga methods depende sa imong gusto nga lutoon, di ba? Cooking methods are mainly classified as moist heat and dry heat. Okay, so again, what are those cooking mediums? Fat, milk, water, or the milk. So those are the cooking medium. So moist method of cooking used as a liquid. So from the word itself, with the use of liquid, cooking medium usually stock. Kailan mo stock? So ato rin na siyang ma-discuss, mabalaan rin na nyo later. Then water, milk, or fruit juice. The liquid cooking medium transfers the heat to the food and cook the food by convection. So, anyong kalimtang convection ha? Mao ni siya ang mahitabo once ang direct contact sa radiation mo react sa pagkaon. That is convection. So methods of cooking with moist heat include, so daghan siyang method nga na-involve aning moist heat. Examples are boiling, poaching. So they're involved in with the use of water, steaming, bracing, and stewing. So in this method, heat is conduced to the food product by water. So including stock, sauces, and etc. or by steam. So mo ni mga different methods which involve moist. First is boiling. So when we say boiling, it is cooking food in boiling water or other water-based liquids such as stock or milk. The boiling point of water is almost never exceed. Dili jud siya mo exceed og 212 degree Fahrenheit or 100 degree Celsius. Kung mo exceed gani ang boiling point into 212 degree, mo exceed I mean mulapas, ang tawag na ana is rapid boiling. So next is sa kanina ko makita ng poaching. So next is the poaching. So have you tried poaching an egg? So poaching an egg is one of the most complicated way of cooking egg. No? You need to perfect the egg nga dili mo separate ang egg white sa egg yolk. Okay, so when we say poaching, it is the process of gently simmering food in liquid, generally water, stock, or wine. So the temperature of the liquid should be around 160 to 185 degree Fahrenheit or 70 to 85 degree Celsius. So, mo ni temperature sa poaching. Then next is simmering. So, are you familiar with the word simmering? So it is a cooking technique in which food are cooked in hot liquids or just barely below the boiling points of water. It is point ha, not points. Water normally begins to simmer at about 94 degrees Celsius or 200 degree Fahrenheit. So simmering ka ng murag magbubbles-bubbles, tra bitaw siya gamay, murag mo appear lang sa water ang mga small bubble. Not unlike boiling na murag dagko na iyang bubbles. Ang simmering, gagmay ra gyud. Next is blanching. So blanching is the process of food preparation wherein the food substance, usually a vegetable or fruit, is plugged into boiling water, remove after a brief time interval, and finally plunged into ice water or placed under cold running water or halt the continuing cooking process. Unsa din ni siyang blanching. So kaning blanching is kana bitong para nang magluto mo vegetable. So para dili ma-overcook ang inyong veggies. So pwede niyo siya iagi through, pwede niyo siya buhaton through blanching. Kana bitong pakuluan ra ninyo gamay ang vegetable. Okay. So, ang blanching ha, depende na siya sa size sa vegetable. So, actually, kung mingon mong mag-blanch mo vegetable, it varies from 1 to 5 minutes only. Depende sa kabag-on or kanipson sa inyong pag-slice sa vegetable. Example is kaning carrot. Okay, sa carrot, kung ang inyong i-blanch is whole carrots, it takes 5 minutes to blanch. So, kung inyong i-dice or i-slice ang carrot, it takes 2 minutes to blanch. Pero kung pa-lengthwise ang inyong size sa inyong carrot, i-blanch ninyo siya for 2 minutes. Same with dice and slice. Then, for leafy vegetable, it should be between 2 to 3 minutes nga dapat dili gyud siya mo lapas or else malatain yung leafy. Pero for me, okay ra magdili i-blanch ang leafy vegetable kay dali ra mo gyud na siya maluto. Ipaulahi lang gyud siya. Okay. And then after blanching, mo na dayon nang isubmerge dayon nimo siya ang vegetable sa cold water. Unsa day but pasabot ana? Nganong isubmerge man nato to stop the cooking process. So maunay kanang maunay rason nganong kinahanglan nato siya i-submerge sa cold water para mo stop iyang cooking process. Next is steaming. So when we say steaming, it is a method of cooking with the use of steamer. Food is cooked in a steam produced by a boiling point. So kaila naman siguro mo ani no para nang magluto mo og mga steam products, mga bingka, something like that, ana. Then next is the braising. So braising is to cook covered in a small amount of liquid, usually after preliminary browning. This meat is usually browned first using dry heat methods such as pan frying. So ang kanidang braising is ang nagmatter ni siya kung sa size sa meat. So ang braising is totally is usually in a large pieces of meat. So kaduha mo ra ni siya kaduha lutoon. At first imong i-seared nimo ang meat in a high temperature kanang pabrownon bitaw nimo siya. And then mo na dayon siya imo dayon siyang butangan og sauce or small amount of liquid only. Okay, so next is the dry heat method. So dry heat method is divided into two, without fat and with fat. So dry heat methods are those in which the heat is conducted without moisture. That is by hot air, hot metal, radiation, or hot fat. So no liquid involved at all. So napaday mo nalimtan aning um, napaday stewing rather. Ang stewing is mo ni murag kabaliktaran sa bracing. Ang key difference lang nila or kalainan is sa between bracing and stewing is the cut of meat. The way nimo siya gi-slice. So kung dako siya, imo is pag-slice sa meat, that is a bracing. Pero kung gamay siya or smaller cuts of meat that are uniform, pareha bitaw anang mag-afritada ta, so it is called stowing. Okay. And ang meat kung mag-stow mo is totally immersed in liquid. Di ba pa nang mag-afritada ta, di ba murag daghan og sabaw, ana siya. Okay, so dry heat without fat. Dry heat without fat. So first is roasting. So roasting is a cooking method that utilizes dry heat, whether an open flame, oven, or other heat sources. So kana bitong roasted chicken mo. Kung ano ba mo nang sa kanang naamoy nice kanang lechon manok, it's a form of roasting. Next is peat, peat roasting. It's brought in contact with the direct flame. The food is braised with fat and it's also turned regularly to ensure even cooking and browning. Example are barbecue meat. So familiar man siguro mo ning lechon. It's a form of peat roasting. O sang exit escape ha kay di na maklaro ang oven. So next is the oven roasting. So when we say oven roasting, cooking food in an oven with the aid of fat. The food is placed in a fairly hot oven for 5 to 10 minutes. O, magamit og oven kung mag-roast mo og chicken. Next is the pot roasting. So, pot roasting in a thick, heavy pan, enough fat is added, and when fat is hot, the meat joint is brown. It is lifted out and two or three skewers are put into pan on which the joint is placed. The joint should touch the fat. Kana bitong ibutang siya sa pan, dili pan nga bread. Ibutang siya sa pan, dito nimo ibutang ang chicken, then butangan nimo og lamas. It's a form of pot roasting din ibutang din sa oven. Next is the pan roasting. It is heated and grains are added. Occasionally stirring, a little fat or sand is added to prevent burning. Roasting enhances the flavor. Corn is made into popcorn by pan roasting methods. So, with the use of pan, kana bitong mura siya og kung ato na lang siya imagine nun, mura siya og pang saute nga pan. So, mas, unsay tawag ani, mas lalom ang pot compare aning pan. Mas swallow ang pot compare aning pan. Kanang itong murag prituhanan nato. Next is the baking. Do you love baking? Do you love to bake? So it is a technique of prolonged cooking of food by dry heat acting by conduction and not by radiation, normally in an oven. So ang makapalutuan ni is ang through conduction. Okay, next is grilling. O sa escape ha. So grilling, it is cooking by dry heat. The food is placed on a gridiron over the fire or on a grid place or in a tin under a gas or electric grill or between electrically heated grill bars. So usually na equipment na gamiton aning grilling. While broiling is cooking by direct heat from a gas flame, electric wire or coal. Usually used for tender cuts of meat and the temperature is high enough to seat the surface. Okay, so when we say broiling, ang iyang kainit na sa ibabaw. So money isa sa rason nga nung maluto siya. So broiling ha, sa kwan niya, sa surface lang niya ang heat. So next is dry heat method using fat. So gaina is without fat pero nagapoy fat. So let's first introduce unsa dining sauteing. Are you familiar with sauteing? So sauteing is a method of cooking food that uses a small amount of fat in a shallow pan over relatively high heat. So in short, kanang itong magisa mo, so mo na siya ay sauteing. Next is frying. Frying is a method of cooking wherein the food to be cooked is brought directly in contact with hot fat. Frying techniques vary in the amount of fat required. So lahi itong mayngon ka mo frying depende na siya sa kadaghanon sa fat na inyong ibutang. Kay kung daghan inyong fat mo nang deep fat frying. So kung gamay lang, it is frying, stir frying, or something shallow fat frying. The next is stir frying. A traditionally round bottom iron pan called a wok is heated to a high temperature. The food is stirred and tossed out very quickly using wooden or metal cooking utensils. So have you seen katong advertisement sa Chowking katong nagluto og chow pan? So mata example sa stir frying kana bitong murag ana-anaon lang ang kuan ang wok tawagan na ha. The next is shallow fat frying. So only a little fat is used and the food is turned slowly on both sides to ensure that both sides of the food are evenly cooked and brown. And the food is completely immersed in large quantity of hot fat. Shallow it's because it symbolizes or it's because ang tungod ani sa gigamit nga pan kanang shallow mura siya og sorry. So shallow mura siya kanang lalom ba? Lalom ang gigamit nga pan. So next is the pan frying. So kung ang shallow fat frying is completely immersed in large quantity of hot fat, ang pan frying is it is a form of frying characterized by the use of less cooking oil than deep frying enough oil. At most cover the food to be cooked only halfway. So kanang gamay ra gid kaayo nga amount of fat ang gibutang niya. So suitable ni siya if naamoy katong non-stick pan. Next is pressure frying. So it is a variation of pressure cooking where meat and cooking are brought into high temperature while pressure is held high enough to cook the food more quickly. So para ng mga french fries sa Jollibee, di ba, na sila gigamit nga pressure frying. So, ilarang makontrol ang temperature. Okay, next is microwave fry cooking. It is referred to the use of a specific tool rather than to a basic dry heat or moist heat cooking method. So with the use of course of microwave oven. Next is the solar cooking. Ay, wala ni sa ato ah. It is a very simple technique that makes use of sunlight or solar energy, which is non-conventional source of energy. Non-conventional it because natural ang atong source of energy. It is from the sun. So kung walay init, dili ka makagamit, dili ni ma-apply ang solar cooking. So that's all for basic cooking principles or the different cooking methods. I hope you learned something from this afternoon. And once again, see you soon. Bye bye.